and this is something I learned a while ago, was you can follow the steps of people who've gone before you to be successful and be rich. There's nothing wrong with that. Or you can find your own path, something you enjoy and feel good about and want to create that comes from in here, whether it's a product or a service that makes you feel good to do. And there are two different paths of success. And to me, they're both equally valid and equally necessary for your well-being and your happiness. But it's all about how you want to do it. And that's the best part about any business, is that you get to create exactly how it flourishes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Optimized, the Prime Podcast. I am your host, Laziena, and I'm here with my co-host, Nashid. And today we are going to be talking to Chris, who is the husband of my amazing friend, Beth. Shout out to Beth.
Shout out to
And
Beth.
Chris, is she there?
She's downstairs.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to show you.
Yes.
And Chris has today some tips on the 3 pitfall of business ventures. So we're going to dive into some storytelling. First, I'm going to have my co-host Nashid introduce himself, and then he will pass it on to Chris, who will tell us a little bit about what he does.
Yeah, thank you, Laziena, for a very good intro and everything. So yeah, we've been talking about the podcast, and good to have you, Chris. And we will learn a lot of areas in marketing and as well, and how you and your stories can help the listeners as well. And so I'm based in Bangladesh. Like, so every time I told to my audience, like, we start the podcast in another day, like we start in Saturday and it goes to on the Sunday. Like, it doesn't mean like we work the whole day, but the time difference and as well. And I was really eager to learn from you as well as to listen. And here you go, Chris. The floor is yours.
Thank you both, and thank you
thank
very
you
much
very
for the
much for
opportunity to be here. I really appreciate that. First was the marketing question, which was the most challenging part about finding clarity in your message. And I kind of have an unusual story for this one. A guy came to me and he wanted to start a um, a, a chess teaching system based on cards, and it was very unique marketing and how to enter the marketplace. And he was entrenched in kind of the he belonged to the Rochester Chess Club and he's very in that community. But he's like, I want to teach people how to play chess better with this system. And so, but he was kind of all over the place. He was like, I'm going to market it to people of all levels, and I want to do this. And he had this kind of grand scheme thing. So you can kind of get lost in the weeds. I find with most people, whether they want to do a service or they want to do product, they want to be everything to everyone. And keeping it simple seems to be the name of the game. And what we did was we were able to design kind of like a scalable system based on skill and how to market it to different levels. So, for example, if you wanted to market it to coaches, you would package it this way. If you wanted to market it to players of a certain age, you would market it this way. And also, it ultimately impacted the design of the system and moving it forward. So that was kind of neat because it kind of changed the entire way he thought about it and how people would teach it. So I guess the takeaway I got from it was, okay, kind of go to the end of the story, like who you want to market to, not just everybody, but specifically and how you want to impact. And that kind of reflects your service and or your offering, that kind of thing.
I hear what you're saying, and that makes a lot of sense to niche it down, like go backwards, right? So kind of and it's not even backwards, it's actually forward, because you want to know, sorry, I'm processing what you're saying. You want to know who you want to reach. So tail it back now, go backwards in your business and see how that message could be, because I imagine it's like a river and you're going down. Well, you have to make sure that you make this turn or you make that turn in your boat. And that's not a very good analogy. One of the things that I'm learning is that when it comes to purpose-driven business versus service-based business, the marketing part of it. If someone is doing roofing or they're doing painting or like electricity, I'm sorry, AC or whatever the case is, they are more, they would have to have a website that has a lot of information that makes them feel, that makes you feel trustworthy, that this is the company that I want to go to fix the service in my home. But when you're doing something from like a purpose, like writing a book or being a coach, whatever those things, the people have to buy into you. They have to understand, they have to know you first rather than your product, because they can go online and find a million coaches, but what makes you different than anyone else? Is there anything that you, any nuggets that you have within that?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, the establishing that trust and that saying, "Hey, we're a little bit different," leveraging, who you are through your product or service. And I think with that particular example, the gentleman, he had the relationships with the coaches, he had the relationships with the players, he had the relationship with the Rochester Chess Club, and that relationship would enable the product he was, forming to cross that bridge over to a customer, potential customer. Communicating that information. I mean, just be relatable. Be like, this is what we do. Simple, straightforward. We paint houses. We paint thing. We make sure it's clean, concise, and we want you to get everything done correctly. And I think what you can do for that is you can identify if you were in your customer's shoes and you're a painter and you paint houses. What do you want from that experience? What would you want if your relative was getting their house painted? What would you want from a service provider? You'd want somebody who come in, didn't mess up all your stuff, got it done in a relatively short period of time and for a reasonable price. And that kind of outlines your demographic and your service offering right away. Something like that.
How did shifting your approach to financing change the way you built your business?
It's really interesting depending on, at one point I had started a restaurant with my then wife, and we really didn't have a lot of money for startup. And we were kind of focused, like, okay, we're going to start a restaurant. We need to buy all this stuff. How can we open a restaurant with a shoestring budget? Many people, when they're starting their business, a lot of things come to mind: small business loans, whether they get financing from friends and family. They think, I need this money to buy this software to do this thing. And it just becomes kind of daunting because you have this debt ceiling over you to kind of think. And I think it's really important to think through, okay, what do I need to start? Okay, to start, well, if you're opening a restaurant or something, I need the equipment, the food, and the building, that type of thing. And probably a little bit of advertising so people know you're there. If you're opening, a shoe store, obviously you need to get inventory, that type of thing. Or you can even start selling online. If you're opening up a restaurant, some people start with a food truck and then scale it to a more brick and mortar type thing. I think it's important to identify, because a lot of people go into their businesses fail because they think they need some sort of giant magic key to start their business, and this was guaranteed to draw customers in. But if you can kind of grow it organically and see what you need, whether it's advertising in a certain spot that will draw more customers and be more, there's two different types of kind of approach to this. It's tactical and strategic.
Mhm.
So tactical would be day to day, and strategic would be the overall strategy that you have. So if you're tactical about it, be like, okay, I know that most of my customers reside in this one spot. I'll put my advertising dollars here. If I know that the primary need for my service, I need to make sure that I have chat functionality or an AI bot to help my website. That'll help me schedule appointments quicker. Then I need to invest in this thing. Whatever you can identify is going to facilitate the growth of your business and reaching and contacting those customers. I think that's better than going into debt immediately with a large loan or buying things you don't need. And I think that's where a lot of ways I help businesses be like, okay, I understand you want to start this business. You don't have to worry about this right now. It's down the road. What can you do? Because when you get into money, it gets emotional because now you have debt and then you worry like, okay, now I have to, you get busy and you're busy rather than effective. So
Mhm.
the difference between being busy and effective is, okay, I'm being busy. I got 8 meetings lined up and I'm going to do all these things and I got this giant list. Well, how much of it is the return on investment for your business is going to be high? And it's really interesting to teach people, okay, make a chart, you know, list all the things you have to do, list how much it's going to cost, list is the return on investment for each thing, high, low, or medium, and how much effort is put in. Is it going to be high effort, low effort? Is it in what's the time frame? Are you gonna get a high return right away? Like You're going to go to this one conference and you're going to get all these clients and leads, or are you going to go, do a mailer and get more return in a shorter period of time? And these kind of methodologies and kind of things help people to be like, oh, okay, I don't need to get a $500,000 loan to grow my business. I can do it smarter, not harder, that type of thing.
Absolutely great. And how you can have your financial part being on the marketing areas. And a lot of the people in an early stage, they are struggling with that. Like, how do they spend? How do the marketing budget is all around? But good part is like nowadays we have AI. Nowadays we have marketing like Canva. We are using it, so you don't need. You may need the consultant and everything, but you don't need, or you may hire yourself to learn Canvas and AIs and can scale it up. So that's the matter, like how the financial parts and everything. And also when you think of the scaling, you definitely think of the earlier stage of marketing and financial part as well. So what are the trusts you have that in your self start, and also it's not the speed. It's like go with the flow. Make sure your marketing and financial part is okay. How you scale, how you grow it, and what are the foundation you created so that you can have like 3 years leverage, 5 years leverage, and share us the stories like what you did in your time when time needed for scaling.
Nashid, I think you hit it right on the head. I think trusting yourself is really hard for some people because they're like, I want to leave my job. One of my clients was a lady. She worked for a major food chain for 20 years, and she wanted to break out on her own to do charcuterie offerings, whether it be grazing tables or, just mini charcuteries and stuff like that. And she really wanted to do it. And the smart thing she did was she started to make them, yeah, she started to market it, and she didn't have any business intelligence about what other businesses now were around her. Now there were two or three, and we were able to provide her with some more in-depth information, but she was really smart about it. She partnered with local restaurants to local bars to offer her charcuterie boards with wine pairings, wine tastings. There were wineries in the area. She partnered with them and scaled it kind of that way. And it was smart because she was making them anyway. They were nearby, and her competitors were in other towns. So we were able to give her the intelligence to do that. But she trusted her expertise, saying, "Hey, I can do this. Hey, I want to change my life. I want to move it forward." And I think that's really big because I know from having been I've had several businesses, many have failed, and you kind of get discouraged, like, wow, I just can't do this, I can't succeed. But if you believe in what you're doing and you want to do this and you want to change your life for the better and grow it, the scaling part is important. And I think you hit it right on the head with it's a little bit tricky because I think they get a couple customers like, all right, we got to scale this up, we got to make it real big, and the ego comes into play and you're like, I need to do this and we can do this and it's going to take off. And the tipping point usually is if you're able to meet 50% of your income, that's the tipping point to switch over. And the scaling part comes in, okay, we've gone from 5 customers to 20. What's essential to meet and exceed those expectations? And the planning usually looks like, and this is where your business plan comes into play. A lot of people kind of like, yeah, it's a formal document. We need it for loans and stuff. But really, it's kind of a guide about your vision. 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year. What does that look like? Because I'll tell you, my restaurant in the third year did not look like the restaurant I started with my wife at the time, and it was very different. And even my business now is I'm in year three. It looks a lot different than it did in year one. Just that way. And I think that people need to kind of revise that every year, take stock about what you have, take stock about where you want to go, and the feelings that go with it. Because it's exciting in the beginning, and then you hit like, oh, I gotta pay all these bills and I gotta do this and it's not enough. And then like a friend of mine said something to me that always stuck with me: fall in love with the process. You know, if you're not excited about growing your business, about going places, and about the substance of what your business is about, it's not something you want to do. The lady that started the charcuterie business, she loved doing it. She loved being creative. She loved finding little things like she had a little store inside her store where she had like little things to go with the wine pairings, little charcuterie plates that sat on, it's a corkboard with a charcuterie board on it that sat on top of the wine glass on the lip. Like, I'm like, who thought of these things? But she fell in love with what she was doing. And I think if you can scale your business to where you want to go, that's really important. Scale your vision kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm adding a couple of things over here. It's something like in the business, right? In early stage, right? Or the other side of that, like people think the business will flow within 3 years and within many years, right? And nowadays it's like people are following the camel strategies. Like you need to have patience. Like there are war going somewhere else, another country is in the recession, the overall country's situation is not good, food price got high and everything. So that period of time, 2 to 3 years, you can't do the magic. It takes 5 years, 7 years, and some said like 10 years. So my question to you, like, what do you think? What are the strategies you're doing? Because we are now not choosing the unicorn strategies, like you will just fly by. It's not going to be a matrix pill, like you have the red pills, you have the blue pills, you have it, and next day you woke up and say like, oh, $1 million business with all the strategies, moving plans, and you don't need a podcast like this, and you will go with the flow. It's not like that. The real life stories is very different. So the timeline, what are the timeline you require? I know it different from different business to business, but actually if anyone wants to start a business, like how you can look for the timeline, 3 years, 5 years, 4 years, 10 years, something like that. Because everyone wants to be rich, everyone wants to be a millionaire, everyone wants to show off, but the real life is like the limitless life, alone, entrepreneurship life. It's not a rosy one. So goes to you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, that's really a great question because everybody's different. Every business is different. It's really interesting when I read the labels of some of the condiments we use in our country, they were all started during the Civil War. Like, why would you start a ketchup company in the middle of a war? Makes no sense. Henry Ford failed twice before he was able to get his company off the ground. And it's one of my favorite examples is Henry Rollins. For years he was grinding and grinding to get his writing, his music off the ground. He's the pillar of persistence for me because it took him like 13, 20 years to succeed in exactly what he wanted to do. Persistence to me is everything. If you want to do it, like I said, fall in love with the process. If you want to do it, everybody wants to be rich, everybody wants to show off. But the thing of it is what is the differentiator? What makes you stand out from everybody else? What I like to do is I like to read a lot about what people have done before me, how they've innovated, what they've thought, and how they've changed the business that they're entering, whether it was Branson or Ford or anybody else. The important thing is to kind of get a sense of how business works, what you're doing, and what makes your product offering different. And I think that people are like, oh, it's going to be 3 years. We can do this. And yes, if you go get angel investors, it may take time. If you go get lots of money, you can scale it quickly and have a lot of offering. But is it something, if you put your heart into it, it's what you want to do, great. If it's just to get rich, there's other ways to do that. There's a lot of different ways to get there. And it's really a choice to me, and this is something I learned a while ago, was you can follow the steps of people who've gone before you to be successful and be rich. There's nothing wrong with that. Or you can find your own path, something you enjoy and feel good about and want to create that comes from in here, whether it's a product or a service that makes you feel good to do. And they're two different paths of success, and to me, they're both equally valid and equally necessary for your well-being and your happiness. But it's all about how you want to do it, and that's the best part about any business is that you get to create exactly how it flourishes. It was like, there's no quick path. There's people who are rich overnight. There's people who are rich in 45 years. And I think the important thing is to learn how you want to operate, how you want to succeed. And I think that's one of the most important things because if you don't know how you want to succeed, again, like Laziena said, starting from the end and burning away the unnecessary, like a crucible, burning away the unnecessary in order to get to that goal. I think that's the best way to get to succeed the quickest.
I think the patience is the key. It's going to be a long run business. It's not going to be overnight. So, and you need to have a long run visions, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years plan. And a lot of plans are not really matches. Like if you start a business, every day you are changing the plans every month. So it's not not like I was working in the multinational companies that they told us to plan for 20 years, like 18 years, 15 years. So 5 years plan is okay, 10 years, 15 years, but people really did that, and a couple of things are really matured and everything. So yeah, because it's a multinational company, so you have your paychecks ready every month and you're good to go. But in an entrepreneurship journey, in a startup, every day you are having some chaos and everything. So you don't need 3 years, 5 years plan, and no one will do it, I guess, and everything. So yeah, a lot of questions by me, and now I hand over to Laziena, right? She's like laughing and have a lot of questions and stored in the cloud. So it's gonna be coming to you, Chris.
So what I
So what I
hold on. So for what as I'm listening to you guys, right, what's coming to my mind is there's these experiences that I have, right, where I haven't gone about a business the traditional way because tried, I started photography and then I was like, I really love photography. This is great. Then I was met with marketing. It's like, oh, my friends and family don't want me to take their photo. What do you mean? Then I went to coaching and then I was like, wait, my friends and family don't want to like be interested in my coaching? What do you mean? You know, and so as I'm getting myself in a different environment, I'm noticing the people that was with me and the people that yeah, my immediate friends and family and stuff like that, right? They're no longer following along with me. They have their own path and there's no judgment there. And then I'm like, okay, so now I have to really pay attention to marketing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to market, I'm going to put things on social media. And then I find out that that's not necessarily going to work because social media, I'm like in this pond and this is the ocean. So then I was like, oh, I have to actually put myself out there and go to networking events. So then I go to networking events and then the networking events people, and again, this isn't a knock to anybody, just wasn't the environment for me because I wasn't really in my purpose. I was just trying to find a business and make it work. So I didn't know how to talk to them in a way that would be able to give me advice. And then I started, okay, now I know what my purpose is. Like I have an idea of what I want and how to start talking about that and moving within that framework. So I'm like, okay, I really do need to go out there, start talking more, get in front of a lot of people, let them get to know me, understand truly what I'm offering. And then also the value that we get to exchange with each other. That's the currency. The currency isn't in the money, the currency is in the interaction, the people, friendships that we're making. That's the stuff where all the juicy things are, right? But then I also learned that as a business, you have got to make sure that your website matches all of the Google requirements to even pop up in a specific place that you need it to. Then, if you're going to use YouTube, you're going to need to go and invest a little bit more in the AI tools that they have because now that's going to take you out of the pond and put you more visible to other similar content creators. And then if you're going to do TikTok, you also have to follow these formats. And then if you're going to do Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, you have to follow these formats. And it gets maddening. And that marketing is directly related to, I believe, the scalability because you have to, if you're not somebody who believe in themselves, it'll quickly become judgment. It'll quickly become fear of judgment, fear of failure, imposter syndrome, all these different mindset things that are gonna come in. So all of these three topics, marketing, financing, and scaling, I feel like they all really go right deeply into you got to be confident. You got to know what you have. You have to know who to talk to. You have to be able to challenge yourself and learn and grow within all of these structures to even be able to make it. And that can be very tiring because while you're creating content, and if you don't have the financial support and you need to do the organic way is also going to require you to be up until like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're going to be tired. You're not going to see your friends and family, and it's going to be easy to want to quit. What are your guys' thoughts about that?
Chris, we want to listen from you.
He tossed it to you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, Nishid. I was just waiting for you to go first. No problem. Yeah, I think that it's easy to get burned out. I think that I mean, having run several businesses, I understand it's grind, 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 go, go, go. But again, it goes back to me, for example, being more strategic and more tactical. Like now I'm able to set limits. So what I used to do is when my wife now was building her business and I was building mine, we'd grind for 12 hours and then we would just fall on the couch and just, be like, what do you have for dinner? Pizza? Bleary eyed. We do that for days and like it wasn't healthy because there's no creativity, there's no healthiness, there's no balance. And I think it's important to say, okay, and then like when I finish like pumping out a week's worth of social media posts and I'm like, yeah, that's a big one done. And then I got to do more, and I'm like, now I stop myself. I'm like, no, you did the big chunk, rest because you need that momentum to go forward. I know that like Nashid brought up a very good point and Laziena did too, is about working smarter is with the AI stuff, you're able to have it created and curated and presented easier. And the AI will learn your voice and be able to do that. So now, instead of me having 4 AIs open, using a software like Buffer to schedule it for free and do all that, what I can do is I can say, ask the AI, be like, okay, it's, I need these topics and everything. And what it'll do is it'll automatically create me topics on a certain day. I can do an API to interface with Buffer and it'll post it and they'll go out to my social media queues. And that kind of automation frees me up to do something else, to take meetings, to curate a different channel if I want, or to attend a conference or to go to a Rotary meeting or sit and score or something. And I think that's really important, that balance you were talking about, because people first start like, oh, this is going to give me money and it's going to be quick and it's going to go quick. And like she was saying, it's not. It's going to take months, years, and you got to revise and be smart about it. And that's like people get burned out, like this will never work and nobody wants this and it's not something I want. But like you said, when you find your voice, you said it, when you find that thing that you fell in love with, it goes right out and it comes out of you. But you don't want to burn it out. You want to work smarter, not harder. So I think that's a fantastic perspective. You both really, really kind of hit it on the head that you don't want to burn out. You don't want to kill your dream of why you started in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think like what Laziena you are mentioning about the what are the society will tell and how you can increase that, so you learn. So it's something like the scenario you were sharing is something like you are impressing or you are taking acceptance from the society. But at the end of the day, if your business fail, nobody will save you. Honestly, yeah. If you put your products in your social media, your wife, your wife's friends, your in-laws, your brother who is not in the business, let's say, will like, post, share, but at the end of the day, will not buy it. So your customers are not your relatives and everything. Because I face the same. I face the same. When I used to work in the multinational company, everybody, I found the world respect there, right? So, oh, he's working there. He's a top engineers and everything and others. And the person who were giving me that respect are entrepreneurs, are businessmen. So when I started my journey, I was thinking like, oh, the respect will go from there to there, right? And when I talk to them, they're not saying like, what the heck, bro? And they're not putting me in a competitions, but I'm in the wrong league. I'm in the wrong league. And they're not giving me that opportunities and everything. So I thought of myself like, this is the wrong person. This is the wrong rooms, right? So in back of my time, it's something like when I enter any room, I was listening to everyone. I was listening to everyone and everything. Nowadays, it's something like if I enter a room, I watch everyone, and if I see like, okay, Chris is matching, Laziena is matching, let me talk to them. Else, all right, thank you very much. Have a nice day. And I don't want to listen to your shiny cars and everything because at the end of the day, it will not value. So the main thing is something like you don't need to impress. Whatever your mind sell and you have your business, you have and everything, thanks to AIs and everything and others. And if you know that, you can save time, you can save money, and you can utilize your marketing budgets to hiring people if you're in the tech. Or sorry, do the planning to the other part. This is one. So getting that kind of respect or validation is not needed, and a lot of the people are doing it, and the stress coming out from that. Another point is something like the show must go on. So you need to have persistence, consistencies, and everything. So, and like rightly mentioned that Chris, like depends on the business to business, how you can have 5 years, 10 years and everything. So, and I've been running the tech journey or the tech entrepreneur for the last 7 years. And my mother, that time of period, like, she said, like, you know how blessed you are? You've been running this business for last 7 years and you have a lot of salaries to give and everything to your people and others. And I thought of myself and I was very grounded. One of my customers didn't sign the contract and another one he signed the contract. So I'm in the middle of like, okay, what happens? Should I go or should I go not? And she told me that you are in the 7 years. You faced COVID, you faced recession, you faced war. I lost my father in during that period of time. So business got stuck. But the 7 years, it's okay, right? So and you have a lot of mileage to go, and that really inspired, right? So you need to have your same. And another part is what we are telling to our kids and everything. Like you have a lot of friends in the beginning. And I was asking to my elder one, like she was talking to one of the her friend, and I said like, is she your best friend? She said, no, she's not my best friend, but I consider her as my good friend. And I asked her, like, what is the best friend and the good friend? So trust is the one, like she's having and everything. And what I was sharing to her and the elder one is something like, you don't need a lot of friends. Honestly, you don't need a lot of friends. Yeah, that period of time when you have your jobs and everything, you need a lot of friends. When I bought my first 3D TV, okay, people came to my house and watched the movies, CDs and everything. And when the TV goes by, the new technology comes and everything, they bought another one, so we moved there and everything. So nowadays it's something like you don't need a lot of friends. You have one or two people who listen to you, who listen to your crap. He's like, Chris, my business is not going and everything. And Chris will say like, okay, do this, change the marketing plan. Oh, Laziena, I'm not seeing any tractions and everything. What should I do? All right, do some podcasting and that will really value. Those are the people you need. Or at the end of the day, you call them and say like, okay, I need a cup of tea with you. Even your virtually and everything. That are the people you need to go, not all the people. And choosing those subject matter experts is very important. Those who are not in the shoes of entrepreneurship, business, putting their food dirties and everything, you cannot get a good answer for them because they are just born with the 9 to 5 jobs, and that's really matters. That's how I see the business persistence as well as the longevity as well as the credibility. And you are rightly put it, Chris, that yeah, you need to have a marketing, the finance, and it depends on the business to business, how you scale up and everything. So yeah, that's the story I want to tell you.
Thank you. That was great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You're absolutely right about my marketing. My market is not my friends and family. So now, and there was a time when I would post and I would be like, man, are they going to see this? Are they going to judge it or whatever the case is? And that was a thought that I had, like my posts are not for them. If anybody saw this and they have some kind of a negative feeling about it, it's not for them. The message is not for them. It's going to reach the right audience. And believing in that every time, after a couple of days, it started to like, it no longer became a thought of mine. But I think, just being able to share that on here so that other people can hear it too, because I know those thoughts are there. It's not brand new. They come, the doubts are there. The moment that we have a marketing failure, Chris, like you said, how many businesses, I think Elon Musk had so many businesses that failed before some of them thrive. So everybody that people look up to as far as the marker for success, they also had a life that they felt judged. They felt that sting of imposter syndrome. They felt those negative feelings, but they still were able to have the resilience and perseverance to say, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to go. And I speak this from experience because I was the one who was stuck in the, oh no, only 9 to 5. I need that security. I was talking to someone who used to be a mentor of mine. And he was like, you're going to all these events, you're not getting money, you're not getting paid. I used to do that when I was younger. I would go to network events and host all of these things. But, I found it was easier to just stay in my job and my 9 to 5. And I'm like, you gave up on yourself. That wasn't that it was, that's not a reflection of me. You're trying to tell me that I'm doing all these things for free, but that was not that is not a reflection or a mirror of my experience now. At one time it was, and sadly, that is still something that comes up for people. Entrepreneurs do struggle with these, especially the marketing part, right? And the scaling. And what you guys are reflecting to me are like, Nashid, you and Chris, there are things that we can use to give us more ease. AI has been incredible. A lot of people are so negative about AI, and I'm like, you're not, anything can be negative. You can use a 2x4 to go hit somebody or build a house. It depends on what you do with it. So AI is, to me, it's knowledge based. It's all IQ. And why wouldn't I want to have something in the right side of my hand that says, I don't know how to do this, do it for me, and it does it. You're not harming anybody. You're not stealing from anybody. You're not doing anything that isn't already being done or used. And there's so many things at at our fingertips. I recently found out about Zapier. Like, I mean, it's been around for I don't know how long, but I'm new to it. I'm like, wait, so I could just put things on there and then it goes everywhere, and I don't. That takes, especially for a business owner. Now you're visible on all platforms, every single one of them, and all you had to do was take maybe like 2 hours to get it all set up and tied in and niched up, and you're good to go. That is it. Like you sit down and you say, okay, who do I want to reach? How do I reach them? What is the most effective way? And what are the tools available to be able to reach them? And put the energy into that, because once that's set up, then everything just becomes automatic and you're not stressing out over doing it manually for the next course of 2 to 3 years. So that's kind of like my little rant that I needed to go on. Please add. I'm waiting on Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
Or Nashid.
I think Rashid made a really good point about who when you walk into a room, who do you want to talk to, and your support system. I thought that was great. When I first became a businessman, my dad was very successful in business, and I wanted to be like him. I was like, I want to be, Mr. Saretto walking into a room and everybody's like, oh, hey, and I want to walk around town and greet people. And then I realized, I'd rather help people with their businesses, and also like I didn't want to be surrounded by people who didn't think I could do it. You're only working for free. You got these clients. You're not making any money. You're in year three. You're not flying all over the country. It's like, no, no, no. I want to be surrounded by people that are either building their business or building me up, and me building them up. Be like, okay, what do you want to do? I want to scale my business. Great, let's do this. And I think that's a great point. You don't want to surround yourself with people that are unmotivated, don't have similar goals, or don't want the best version of yourself. I think that was spot on. And I think a lot of people just spend their time like, H.P. Lovecraft of all people was just in a dire place, just and then he started to write, and he wrote for years, and he got out of there finally. Alexander Hamilton rode his way to America. It's amazing stories just by the will to succeed. But yeah, surrounding yourself with, even if it's two people or one person, there doesn't need to be like this whole group, and that just like you find your energy, you find your flow, and you're like, I have an idea. Like my wife is my best friend, and we champion each other all the time. We call it our little circle of appreciation club with two people, because we like build each other up. So like, you want to do this? Let's do it. I want to do this. Let's go here. Let's build each other up to be successful. And we have so many people in our lives that want us to succeed. Whether it's our relatives or our friends, but the number could be huge, the number could be small, but you gotta have that cheering section. You got, and even other people that wanted to start business. I'm like, yeah, you wanted to go right ahead. Go. How is it going? What do you need? What's the challenge? What can I do? Like, you said Zapier, like absolutely. Zapier, Buffer, whether it's Gemini, Copilot, Claude, GPT, whatever it is, one of my service partners I have, he's been developing his own AI. So when he gets to that point, he can actually, what they do is they transcribe media into pieces that can be used by other businesses, and they package them. All these service offerings that they have, it's amazing, but people don't know, and Laziena, you talked about like taking wrong turns when you first started. That's all part of it. That's all part of it. You got to make mistakes. You got to fail forward and fail often. And I think that's a really good point you had too. A lot of these things people just don't know, they don't talk about, and it's all rote. It's all by doing. And I think the more you can kind of clue people in that, yeah, that's part of the journey. Just go through it. Or hey, if you want to sidestep that part and go in a different direction, go right ahead. That's all part of your journey. This is your journey. It's nobody else's. Unless you have like partners and stuff, but that's a different story. It's still your journey because you're the wheel on that car. You're part of that cog in that machine, or that painter painting this part of the ceiling. I think that's really important, and I think that you guys have hit it on the head. Exactly how that journey kind of maps out.
Thank you for
Thank you
sharing.
for sharing.
She'd go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just want to add with a couple of words with that. Absolutely, like what you said, you don't need the validations from different parts, and you need to grow. And at the end of the day, it's a lonely journeys and everything. But yeah, you have a lot of tools. We can do that. Like I don't know whether in next 5 years the marketing part will be done by the other tools and everything, because I really love Canvas and everything. And maybe you can give some tasks to the marketing consultants and everything, and they don't need to show up every day. So you are minimizing the time and everything. Listening to you, Chris, like what I was sharing is like the decisions based on your journeys and based on your companies and everything. Sometimes if you have a solo entrepreneur or sole journeys, it's much better to have discussed with the partners and everything. When we started this venture, we were three partners. But along with the side, I thought of them and everything. They were very good. One of them is very good in the cloud business. Another one is very good in the tech business. Those person in 1 year time, 1 year down the line, we found out they're more meant to be a 9 to 5 job people. So you need to go to your customers. You need to wait for the bills. You need to sit down, discuss. That period of patience they don't have, and eventually they got a good job, and they shifted to their own job. And if I see the curve from second year to seventh year, the growth happens because I was the one who take all the decisions, like here to go, here to not, and everything. So sometimes it's you all needed, because one of my sessions in one of the universities was like finding a co-founder, right? And how you find that there will be a hipster, there will be a technology freak, right? There will be a marketing guy, the sales guys, and everything. But are you sure you want to have the entrepreneurs or the founders or co-founders with your team? You can utilize your marketing with the Canvas, AIs. You can utilize your sales with that, and those if you can utilize, there are a lot of decisions you can take by your own, and you can scale up, and you don't need co-founders. And it's very good. You need to have a partners, right? It's a marriage. Like, all right, fine, how can we do it? Let's go together. Even in the market, even if you have 2 3 people talk, it will be like a team. But it's not like the Bible, like you have to go for 3 or 4 partners. You can go by the solo journey. Alexander the Great and the lot of people, yeah, yeah, you need to bring the generals, right? And if you have a framework, like, okay, fine, these are the ones and everything. And most of the other time is people do start the micromanagements and everything. So if you can build the generals who can do it by yourself, then you can crack the business and you can go a lot of mileage. So just wanted to add with Chris and Laziena, right? So I may think like it will be added more.
That's awesome. Thank you, Nashid. I think when it comes to business, it's such a life-changing experience, because it's not only dreaming for yourself, it's dreaming for others. And at the core of it, it's a new thing, or it might be something of the same, right? But it's somebody being brave, saying, I'm going to do this, and stepping out and doing it. And then when you're met with all the hurdles, it's okay to like rely on people, find the people. I've been somebody who's always scared to do things on my own. I remember when it was time to do Breaking the Cycle podcast, I was terrified. I was like, I don't even to speak on a podcast, to speak about this specific topic. All of it was very, very scary, but I needed a partner. So I was like, okay, let me have my daughter partner with me. And then we were going through the thick of our trauma at that point. So it wasn't necessarily working because we both had growth moments to do. So I was like, man, I really have to do this on my own. I even got my brother to come on with the introductory episode because I was so scared. And then there's other things that I was started to do, and I'm like, I need a partner. I have to do it another person. But it wasn't until I said, you know what, I'm gonna do this for me. At first, it was like, you know what, I have no support. Nobody's gonna help me. I'm gonna victim of it. I'm gonna do it on my own. And that initially motivated me to do it on my own. But as I started to do it on my own, I'm like, oh wow, this is a sense of accomplishment, something that I can be proud of. I overcame a hurdle and I started to just, be me and doing it. And then what ended up happening? I end up getting partners. Nashid and I are co-hosts here. I have another podcast with another co-host from India. My daughter is literally my co-host on the other podcast. I am connecting with the right people, like Nashid that you said. When you go into the rooms, you're not looking at everyone anymore. You're looking for that one that have, I would like to call the juiciness. And that's how we are starting to co-create. So there is an element of it that you just need to do it. And there's lots of tools. There's lots of help. There's lots of people that want to help you build and grow and co-create. We all want to have the same experience. It's just a matter of finding who your people are, and they align once you align. So that's like my biggest takeaway from our conversation today. But before we end, Chris, please share what you do, who you are, what you do, if you have an offer right now, and how people can get in touch with you should they need to.
My name is Chris Saretto. I run Oakwood Consulting LLC. Basically, what we do is we help businesses start from small to medium-sized businesses, work smarter, not harder, and get started on that journey to being successful in what they want to do. You can email us at oakwood_business@consultant.com. Oakwoodconsultant.com is our website. There's a contact form right on there. We do send out a quarterly newsletter, which I have to do today. Thank you for reminding me. We also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We also just moved into the TikTok space. So you can reach us out in any of those channels and feel free. And the offer we have is we will do a half-hour consultation with you about what you want to do and how to grow your business. We'll give you the suggestions on it. And if you want to move forward with execution, then we'll give you a price for it. That's not a problem. And every business is different. So, people are like, oh my God, it's going to cost an arm and a leg, or it should cost a flat fee. Every business is different. And we want to provide tools for that customized to your business.
Nashid,
Thank you both. This has been wonderful.
thank you. Yeah, I enjoy our conversation. Nashid, do you have anything to add before we end?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it's been a pleasure to talk with Chris, understand the marketing, the technologies, the sales, how to scale up the business, what will be the strategies, right? And really, really enjoyable ones. And you see, like I was like a bit of sleepy and everything when I was in the conversations. I stole all the question from Laziena, just like loving it. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Laziena. Right? And definitely, we have a lot of mileage to run, and we'll bring a lot of subject matter experts like you to share all the experience. So good job.
Thank you both. I really appreciate it.
Well, to our listeners and our viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Chris, it's amazing to meet you officially, unofficially, because we have only met on Facebook. And I look forward to collaborating in the future. Whatever it is that you need, I'm here to support. And anybody who wants to reach Nashid and I, you should know by now, but laziena.com for me, Nashid Ali in LinkedIn or Facebook, or you'll see us everywhere. We're going to be posting and blowing up.